And I'd like to turn a moment to Europe, where of course Europe has been on the front lines for the past several years of a major migration movement. In particular, I'd like to ask you a little bit about the situation in Greece right now, which is getting a lot of attention, certainly. Right now, what is the situation regarding the people? We've seen images of people in the tents and all that. Have you managed to move them into better accommodations? How are you trying to resolve this crisis?
The situation has improved in the past few weeks. The government, because this is really the responsibility of the government of Greece, has been able to move more people on the mainland. I think about 80% now are in relatively heated places where they're not exposed to bad weather. But we need to do the very last leg there together with the government. In the islands, the situation is more complex because the islands are fairly overcrowded with refugees, asylum seekers, migrants. What we are telling the Greek government is move those that are eligible, and many of them are, to the mainland where there's more space. And we're working with them on that. Final point on Greece, which I think is very crucial. Greece hosts today about 60,000 refugees, migrants, asylum seekers. Europe had made very strong commitments, had committed a year and a half ago to take more than 60,000 people from Greece. Actually, this would be the totality of what is in the country now. About half of those that are there now are eligible for this relocation, but the program goes too slowly. And up to now, I think only a few thousand have been relocated. If that happened, most of the burden that Greece is carrying right now would be resolved, with very little burden on Europe, because it would be distributed across all the countries that have made those commitments. So I really urge them to do that.
Will another solution come into play at a certain point, given that these people are sort of bottled up in Greece and are stuck there? There's also the returns to Turkey are not progressing either, so we have this chronic situation.
Well, that issue, some people were identified as to be returned to Turkey. That issue is in the hands of the Greek asylum system. They have to make a determination if people are eligible for asylum in Greece or not, and therefore can be returned. I think the Greek asylum system has examined this very carefully and is a little bit concerned with returning people. Some have, but still very, very few. On the other hand, because of many factors, including the EU-Turkey agreement, but also the closure of the frontiers, the relatively difficult conditions of refugees in Greece, very few have arrived. So there is a bottling up, but it's not as dramatic as could have been. But we still need to work on it.
Last question. We are entering, this will be a momentous year in Europe. Clearly there are elections in a number of major countries. The populist parties are on the rise, driven in a number of countries by anti-immigrant sentiment. Do you think that the hardening of sentiment around refugees and migrants, is it now something that will remain with us for a long period of time? Do you see any reversal or softening of that?
I think that if Europe doesn't do what they said they would do in 2015, and we were fully supportive, meaning a better management of the flows of people coming into Europe. If Europe as a whole, in a spirit of cooperation between all member states, if they don't do that, that sentiment will grow. Because I'm convinced that sentiment is the result of the perception that it is chaos, that people are coming without any check and control. And partly it was like this in 2015-16. So that piece has to be put in place. And we've offered the EU many suggestions on how this can be done in a manner that is efficient and principled. The two things are not necessarily exclusive. Actually, they usually reinforce each other.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.